Anyone here? No one's here. Wait, Aurora, hi. Hi. How are you? Hi, Aunt She. Welcome. Come on in. Don't be afraid. Nothing to be afraid of here. Nothing to be afraid of. Nana Patty. Aurora. Aunt She. Come closer. Don't be afraid. Come a little closer. Let me see you. Yes, Aurora. Come here, Aurora. Aunt She. Nana Patty. Little closer, girls. Just want to see you. That's all. It's all innocent. All innocent fun. I think you came for a story. And you shall have a story. You all look very nice this evening. We're going to read Spooky Tales from the Campfire. Campfire stories. And if it's just us three, that's fine. First story is called The Ghost of Pearl White. When I was a kid, my grandparents bought an old boarding house in Jersey City, New Jersey. It had once housed actresses working for a big silent film studio located directly across the street, but the film studio was long gone, and now the boarding house was unused. My grandparents converted it into a 3-family home. They moved into the bottom floor, offered my parents the second floor, and rented out the third. It worked out pretty well for everyone. Hello, Mary. Come on, Mary. Come in. Come closer, Mary. Come closer. Let's see. They moved into the bottom floor, offered my parents the second floor, and rented out the third. It worked out pretty well for everyone. There was extra income for my grandparents, privacy for our family, with quick access to grandma when it was wanted or needed, and a quiet couple on the third floor who provided additional income for my grandparents with no hassles. Actually, the couple upstairs was a little too quiet. It was odd. No one's life could be that serene. I was not sure how the idea got started in my small head. Maybe I overheard my parents talking. Hello, Joyce. But I soon got the notion that the life in the upstairs apartment was a recluse. Occasionally, my parents or grandparents would encounter the husband on his way to or from work, and he always chatted with the family for about 10 minutes. On the day he delivered the rent check. But the wife never appeared at all. My parents sometimes speculated about this strange woman they never saw, but I didn't pay any attention to their conversations. I was more concerned with dolls and school friends and playing in the sandbox in our backyard than with reclusive adults, so I ignored the whole situation. Now, bedtime for me at the new house was 8 p.m. sharp. My bedroom was opposite the main staircase, and I could see it clearly when lying tucked up in my bed for the night. One evening, about a month after we moved in, a strange lady wearing a gorgeous fancy yellow dress strolled past my room at about 8:15 and walked up the third floor staircase. I sat up in bed, mouth open in surprise. Excuse me. Who was she, and where had she come from? I shivered, for the air was suddenly cold in my bedroom. I was a little frightened by this strange person strolling calmly through my new house as if she owned it. I was about to yell for my mother when I realized who the woman must be. She was obviously the reclusive wife of our third floor neighbor. I relaxed at once and lay back against the pillow. She sure was a pretty lady, I thought, as I drifted towards sleep, and that dress was to die for. A couple of nights later, the lady strolled past my door again at 8:15 on the dot. This time, she wore a pink dress with elaborate lace and carried a fan. I sat up and watched her with interest, rubbing my arms against the sudden chill in my room as she walked up the staircase and disappeared from view. I wanted my mother to make me a dress like that. I wondered if the reclusive third floor lady could tell my mother the store where she had bought it. I snuggled under my covers with a smile. Maybe the store sold dresses like that in my size. After that, I saw the lady almost every night. She strolled past my door and walked up the third floor staircase until she disappeared from sight. I loved the lady's clothes. Often she wore the yellow dress in which I'd first seen her, but sometimes her dress was blue or pink or white, with lovely lace or embroidery. She must work in a very fancy store, I thought. My mother never wore such long, fancy dresses, and she never wore her hair up with combs and jewels. One night, excuse me, need a sip of water. One night, about a year after we moved into the old boarding house, I was awakened by a deep sleep by a cold breeze that flapped the curtains on the window and rattled the coloring books on my desk. I blinked sleepily and saw a figure walk through my bedroom door. It was the lady from the third floor again. She was wearing the fancy pink dress with the fan, and her hair was pulled back with two lovely pearl white combs. The woman walked over to my closet and went through the partially open door. I blinked in surprise, for it seemed almost as if her body had gone through the wood of the door itself, rather than through the small opening between the door and the frame. But that was silly. No one could walk through wood. And why had she gone into my closet? Let me get a piece of gum for my throat here. Just say hey. Hey, hey, hey. Come on in. Go tell your friends. Go round them up. Hi, Nightmare. You made it. You made it. You're not too afraid. Glad you're here. Go get your friends. I think everybody's sleeping. It is pretty late. Let's see. The cold wind ceased as abruptly as it began, and my sleep fogged brain refused to wrestle with the mystery. I'd seen the lady every day for more than a year, and she'd never bothered me before. If she wanted to spend the night in my closet, so be it. As sleep claimed me, I decided that there must be a secret staircase in my closet that led to the third floor. You just woke up having coffee. That's what I should be doing, but I'm going to be going to bed. When I woke up in the morning, I jumped out of bed and went into my closet. Sure enough, the lady wasn't there. I started tapping the walls and the ceiling, trying to discover the key to the secret door, but it eluded me. I'd have to ask the lady the next time she went upstairs at 8:15. Of course, I completely forgot about the secret door in the closet by bedtime, too caught up in my childhood dramas to remember the strange event of the previous night. A few weeks later, my grandparents sold the old boarding house to my aunt, and we moved into a nice home in the suburbs. So I never solved the mystery of the secret door in the closet. About a month after the move, my aunt came stomping into our suburban house in a rage as I sat at the kitchen table eating my after-school snack. "I cannot believe you sold me a haunted house," my aunt said to my grandpa. "What do you mean haunted?" Grandpa asked. My aunt explained loudly and in great detail. She ranted about the ghostly woman who walked up the third floor staircase every night at 8:15 on the dot. And the previous night, the ghost had walked right into my aunt's room, my former bedroom, and had floated past her bed and right through the closet door. What's that? Did you hear that rattling? I just heard rattling. I heard the gate there rattle. I stared at my aunt, pop-eyed in amazement. The lady with the beautiful dresses had been a ghost? I could hardly believe it. I shivered a little, remembering the strange breeze that had fluttered the curtains of my room the night the lady walked into my closet. Then again, maybe I could believe it. "You're crazy, Loretta. You must have been dreaming," my father said. My grandfather shook his head sadly as he contemplated his poor, addled daughter and added, "Daughter, there is no such thing as a ghost." Realizing I had to defend my beleaguered aunt, I told my parents and grandparents about my own ghostly sightings. In the end, they had to believe it because both my aunt and I had seen the ghost many times. A look through old photographs of female stars from the silent era identified the ghost as that of Pearl White. Further research revealed that my closet had been the dressing room for some of the actresses, so that explained why the ghost had sometimes walked into my closet. To own the truth, I was a bit disappointed that there was no secret staircase. To this day, I still have no idea why the ghost of Pearl White walks the halls of her old boarding house. Perhaps it's to remind herself of a happy period in her life. All I know for sure is that Pearl White is the best dressed ghost in Jersey City. I'm still envious of her beautiful gowns. Okay, I'm going to read one more and then it'll be bedtime. For you and you and you and you and you. And Aurora, you are getting up so you don't have to go to bed. This one's called Ghost in the Stacks. Ooh, really? That's cool, Aurora. That is very neat. Ghost in the Stacks. I saw the girl out of the corner of my eye while I was studying in a remote section of the second level stacks in the library. She was pretty, with reddish hair and pensive, wide eyes on an intelligent face. She wore a red flowered dress with a white button down sweater. I straightened up, patted my hair to make sure it was smooth, and took another look. The girl was gone, vanished into thin air. My shoulders sag a bit as I turned back to my books. Oh well, there were more important things to do, like studying hard so that I got into medical school. When I graduated next year, pretty girls could wait. Hi, Denise Renee. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Hope you didn't get too scared. Hope you like this one. Still, I kept seeing the girl's face whenever I closed my eyes, and I kept looking around as I exited the library, hoping to see her again. She dominated my thoughts as I staggered down the front steps with my heavy backpack. Then a few of my friends shouted to me, interrupting my romantic thoughts, and I walked over to their gathering place. "Where have you been, Tony?" my friend Jeff called. "At the library," I said, patting my backpack for emphasis. "You have been studying?" Jeff asked incredulously. I grinned. "I've got to crack down now so I can get into med school," I replied to his jibe. "Can't always be partying with you losers." That set them off as I had intended and kept the jokes flying until dinner time. One more drink. Although I didn't admit it to myself, I chose the same spot in the stacks for my studies the following afternoon, hoping to see the pretty girl again. This time I was in luck. After about an hour, she appeared among the shelves, browsing intently. I noticed that she was wearing the same dress and sweater that she'd worn the previous day. She must like that outfit, I thought. Obviously, it was time for me to do some browsing too, I thought, straightening my shirt and rising casually. I turned left and then right before walking into the line of bookshelves where the pretty girl had just been browsing. Then I stopped abruptly. Where had she gone? I was astounded. The girl must move with amazing speed, I thought. It had taken me not only a few moments, it had taken me only a few moments to rise and move through the aisles, but in those short seconds she'd managed to move silently away without me seeing her. She was probably into sports if she could move that fast. Maybe she played soccer just like me. I walked casually through the stacks, glancing this way and that, trying to spot her again. No luck. With a sigh, I turned back to my seat in my studies, a frustrated man. I didn't see the girl again for several weeks. Finals were rapidly approaching, so I spent hours in the library, many of them searching for and daydreaming about the girl in the red flowered dress, but she never appeared. Finally, I abandoned hope of ever meeting her and buckled down for my last week of review before finals. The girl wasn't even on my mind the day I rushed out of the stacks toward my friend Jeff, who was impatiently beckoning for me to hurry up. Then I saw the pretty girl rising from a seat in a far corner. I stopped abruptly in shock, for she hadn't been sitting there when I had gone to my study desk on the other side of the room. Here's an illustration. Hi, Denise. I hope you like this one too. This is going to be the last one. I'm only reading 2 tonight. Gotta go to bed. I didn't just get up like Aurora. I turned, hoping to catch her eyes as she moved into the stacks, but she did not look my way. "This is it, boy," I told myself. "If you want to meet her, you'd better do it now." Ignoring Jeff, who was calling my name impatiently, I followed the girl into the stacks, eyes fixed on her dress and the attractive swing of her reddish blonde hair. She turned the corner, and I quickened my step. I turned the corner too and stopped, baffled and a little spooked. The girl had vanished again. I shivered. This was getting creepy. Was the girl avoiding me? Why? We had never spoken, and I certainly could not be accused of staring at her, as I had only seen her for a total of maybe 30 seconds. Shaking my head at the mystery, I went over to Jeff, who was loudly demanding an explanation, and exited the library. Later that week, I decided to skip the big football game to cram for finals. Just about everyone else was at the game, so the library was nearly deserted as I strolled over to my favorite study spot in the stacks on the second level. I decided I was going to ignore the pretty girl with the reddish blonde hair from now on. Obviously, some things were just not meant to be. Besides, it creeped me out, the way she kept vanishing into thin air. I was engrossed in my studies when I heard books and shelves tumbling to the floor. I leapt up and ran toward the sounds. To my horror, the pretty girl, whom I'd been trying to meet, lay on the floor with books all around her. She was unconscious, and my heart gave a painful thump when I realized that there was blood staining her red dress. Then, right before my eyes, she vanished. I sat down abruptly on the floor, my legs shaking too hard to hold me up, realizing that the girl in the red flowered dress was a ghost. It was then that I remembered the story of the girl who had been murdered in the library back in the 60s. I knew at once that she was the ghost I'd seen. I had just seen a paranormal reenactment of her final moments of life. I buried my face in my shaking hands, feeling a terrible grief at the loss of such a beautiful girl. From what I had heard, her murderer was never apprehended. It made me furious to think that justice had never been served. Slowly, I uncoiled my body and rose to my feet. The aisle between the stacks was empty now. The books mysteriously returned to their shelves. I was too unnerved to remain in this deserted place, so I grabbed my books and went back to my room. I'd be right with him. I'd be running up there to my room. I saw the ghost one more time before I graduated. I was reading at my favorite study desk when I felt a chill in the air. I shivered and looked up, and there was the ghost of the pretty girl standing a few feet away from me. Our eyes met, and I saw fear and despair in her face. My own face twisted in sympathy. Impulsively, I stretched my open hand toward her. At the sight of my distress, she reached her hand back toward me and gave me a tiny smile. For a moment, I felt the touch of cold fingers on my warm ones. Then she was gone. The end. And with that, I'm going to go to bed. Hello, Haley Ryan, dear lady. Marked my spot. That was sad, wasn't it? It was. The young girl in the library where she died. Night, night. Going night, night. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks for coming. Bye.